Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donny Coram, and welcome to this live streaming broadcast where today I am super excited to have a guest with me today, Mr. Mark MJ Jackson, founder of InvestorComps, and we're going to have a very detailed discussion today, folks, about virtual investing. That's right, the ability to do deals all across the country and the world from your own living room, featuring a guy who has done it lots of times, has a website to provide data to investors just like you, who can help you to do your analysis all over the country. We have a ton in common. I'm not going to delay any further. Let's get Mr. Mark MJ Jackson on the stage. Mark, what's up, man? How you doing?
I am absolutely positively outstanding. You can introduce me anytime.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to take you up on that. So be careful, because I hope we can do this more than a couple of times. I love talking with you yesterday. I'd like to go over just out of the gate some of your background. You and I have a decent amount in common in the real estate investing space. When I stumbled upon InvestorComps and started reading up on your background, I was like, this guy is like the future who I wanted to become as I got into the investing career. Could you tell me a little bit of a background? Tell the people out there what you've been doing in an investing space and why they should be listening to you about virtual investing.
Yeah. Well, Don, first, thanks so much for the opportunity to have the time to care and share with your trusted audience. I really appreciate it. And the ultimate goal is, of course, just to bring a lot of value to them as we have time to just kind of be here today. I'm very simply, born and raised in Jersey, did what my parents told me to do, go get a good education. My dad was in the food industry, told me not to work in the food industry. I immediately went into the hospitality
Okay.
Which meant that I was a manager at Church's Chicken. So
that's hospitality.
It's hospitality. So needless to say, after getting robbed at gunpoint,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, not once, not twice, but 3 times, the light bulb started to go off. I need to do something different. Unfortunately, even in that challenge, I lost my family as well. Went back, re-educated, got a better job. But was buying my first home, and at the closing table, discovered the real estate appraisal, and everything has transpired from then to now as a result of that divine intervention moment. I could actually see myself doing a real estate appraisal, even though I didn't really know what it was at the time. So when I say divine intervention, I really mean so. From that, I actually took a buyout from my corporate job a little bit later, opened up my own appraisal firm, and soon discovered my real gift was valuating investment property for real estate investors. I wasn't an investor myself yet, but utilizing the tools and skills that we develop as real estate appraisers, not just from the point of 3 comps, here's the value. I'm talking about looking at the market area, analyzing functional obsolescence, researching how many permits there are for new builds around existing construction, and then porting those skills to different market areas around the country. That was the impetus that created InvestorComps. The folks and clients I was serving locally in the Atlanta market, where I cut my teeth as an appraiser, wanted to be able to look at deals the same way I did. And that's how InvestorComps was built. From that, we started serving a domestic audience here in the US, wound up expanding to serving international clients. And then we got into the Great Recession. And that's when the advent of all this discounted foreclosure property from Countrywide, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Wachovia, WAMU, all those that gave us the ability, utilizing the internet and different tools, to be able to identify a property, get on a contract, identify a buyer at a distance, close with a title company, and never have to go see that asset. That was the impetus back in 2007, what created virtual investing. Move forward, pandemic hits. I wound up with clients, literally one young lady in particular, that was stranded in Buenos Aires. It was just introduced to InvestorComps, and she wound up wholesaling deals while in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in Evansville, Indiana, made 5 figures over a course of a couple of months, sustaining herself until she could get back to the U.S. On top of that, my real gift has been working with practice professionals that really want the benefits of passive income. So my company, we identify deals utilizing those valuation first approach concepts that appraisers have with foreclosed property, stuff like that. And we help them deploy capital throughout the U.S. as well as international investors in Italy, Australia, Canada, Asia, deploying capital in the U.S. for significant returns, all while taking a valuation first approach to do it and knowing that InvestorComps is that tool, that resource right there to assure that they're making a profit when they buy or as they deploy capital. That's a little bit about me. I mean, I look forward to really digging into this.
That's a great story, and I love that. I'm going to hit you with the lightning round. We're going to ask you about the 5 F's. So I want you thinking about how you find deals. I'm sure you're going to. It's hard to do lightning round and how you analyze deals, but how you're going to fund them, how you fix your deals, and how you ultimately sell them if you decide to sell them or whatever your exit strategy is. But as we get into that, let's talk similarities here between you and I. You were born in Jersey. I was born in Jersey. What part of Jersey was that again?
Well, actually, I was born in Philly, but raised on the Jersey coast over in Monmouth County. Neptune is where I graduated from high school.
Okay, that's super cool. So I was born in Trenton, New Jersey. You got an appraisal license. How long ago did you get your appraiser license?
1999.
Okay, so I got an appraiser license back in the day. 99, I'm sure you'd agree with me, was an entirely different landscape for appraisers than it is today. What has changed drastically about how appraisers find valuation between when you got your license way back in 99? I got mine in like 2010, 2011, so different market back then too. But what has changed in your opinion, Mark, about how valuation is conducted today?
Well, I mean, the first thing that goes into it is, there's any number of different resources that the people that are bringing the deal to you, whether it's a refinance, certainly it's a little bit different if it's a sales contract, but even how the general public and or agents or lenders actually perceive value is very different than the on-the-ground work we did back in the 90s and early 2000s up until the Great Recession when Dodd-Frank came in and they changed the requirements for appraisers where you actually had to have a 4-year degree as a prerequisite before you could apply for appraiser's license. On top of that, again, things have changed so substantially. One of the tools that we utilize so heavily in virtual investing is Google Maps to be able to see that street view and get an assessment of what the property looks like. What's even better now is, of course, you can see the date of when that video was done. There's lots of assets that we can look at that the map view will be, if this is January of 2024, heck, they'll be as recent as October, November. Okay. Yes. You can really see, rather than it being a dated 2 or 3-year-old image, it's practically a very, very recent image in a lot of market areas because of the advent of updating that information. So how you get the data, both on the public record and the app structures, as well as initial assessment of an asset without having to even leave your home, has been enhanced substantially from when I was on the ground doing the only choice you had to do was get in the car and go drive.
That's right. And now you could get the data from anywhere. So here you are. How are you finding deals like this, though? If you're investing, I know you did some deals in Puerto Rico, which, by the way, super exciting market for me, and I would love to be playing in that area. My clients were starting out in Colorado Springs, Colorado, because I'm based here. But how did you find a deal that you wanted to purchase in Puerto Rico? Could you walk me through that acquisition, your first one?
My initial deals in Puerto Rico were absolutely no different than all of the HUD deals I did on the mainland. I went on HUD Home Store, found some deals I wanted to look at, clicked on a link to identify any ID approved a realtor. The first 2 that came up, Enrique Morales, he answered the phone. He was my agent and is still my agent in Puerto Rico now, going back to January of 2020. So that was the initial part. But here's the thing. As you develop relationships, we know that is so very, very key in anything that we do, whether it's the agents, title companies, inspectors, contractors, the relationships that we build and nurture are so very, very important. So I've transitioned from just doing HUD to wholesale relationships to other bank relationships. We now have access to Banco Popular just in Puerto Rico, First Bank in Popular, Oriental Bank, and other co-op and or credit unions that are also releasing foreclosed property. So literally we have more resources to look at deals now. And I live in the Salt Lake Valley in Utah full time. Right. And he knows I'm not going to Puerto Rico every time I pull up and look at a deal. So we started out with HUD Home Store and then it has just mushroomed from there.
I love that you brought up HUD Home Store. You and I guess we were talking about how HUD was such a big part of getting into our investing career. I remember as a young agent, what I loved about HUD Home Store was that at the time, I don't know if anybody remembers, but agents were getting paid 5% commission. And I was thinking to myself, why wouldn't everybody, A, they're great deals a lot of times, and
Yep.
B, I can make more money for selling a good deal to a client than I can for selling a basic property. But so that was where I really fell in love with deals and deal analysis was through HUD Home Store. And to your point, you can find a HUD property anywhere in the country right now, right?
It's true. I mean, and another thing too that really made, and we have a complete training program, probably you do as well, HUD deal training under InvestorComps. And I walk through the parameters. Back in the day, of course, you could track the confirmation number because it would work in sequence. Well, they changed that because they found that we were actually
Yeah.
on the internet, how you could track the confirmation.
Right.
Right. And so that shifted. You could see just how many people were bidding on the property.
I remember that. You could also, you had that whole countering process where they told you what the least they're going to accept on the property was. They're still playing that game now. Such an incredible opportunity. So we've kind of established that you're finding deals on HUD. You're going from there. You're clearly a data geek, if you don't want me saying that affectionately, putting together an investor comp site, being an appraiser. Talk to me about your analysis process. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but You've got all this data streaming in from the data provider that you partnered with to provide for investor comps. So you're using your own data to research the market, but you mentioned some other stuff, builder permits, what's going on in the market activity. Give me a 30-second or a minute-long synopsis on your analysis process to decide what your exit strategy on that deal is going to be.
Yeah, so much. So exit strategy too, but just in terms of the analysis, we really look at who the buyers and sellers are in the market area because we want to get a sense of what are the distressed sales as well as the arm's length transaction. What's going to be our best acquisition point, and then simultaneously, not separately, but simultaneously determining what that ARV, that after repair value, is going to be. One of the things that doing virtual investing that's so powerful is being able to pull the prior listings that are so prevalent out there on the internet, so you can actually see how other assets were presented to the market at the time of sale. So you can tell if it's a property that someone has owned for a long period of time, maybe done some upgrades because of all the listing images are out there. But you can also immediately look at an asset that has been fully renovated and what price did it bring, but also how long was on the market and what's the difference between list price and actual sales price. So you can get a sense of, did it sell for more, did it sell for less, those type of items. So really get into the analysis so you can determine what is going to be with it, allowing yourself some margins to be able to determine that ARV. I always teach from, again, from an appraiser's background, the best deals are the one where there's some equity left for the next buyer that's coming in place, whether that's a rehab or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So the more that you can really dictate what's going to be your acquisition point, making that profit when you buy, the better you're able to shift and adjust should a pandemic hit, should interest rates start going up, should rentals become more popular rather than anyone being able to buy this retail flip you're doing. You want to allow yourself some margins so you can adjust on deals. So those are the things we really look at when we get into the analysis before we ever even put, extra effort into contacting your agent to put a bid on a deal, or if it's for you and it's in your local market area. Let's just say you're in, Colorado Springs, you just want to do something up in Monument. Well, before you put the key in the ignition, before you start spending that golden fuel, you want to have as much analysis you can do beforehand. That's what we're really focusing on.
I love that. And a lot of what I focus on with my clients as well really is the analysis part. And let's face it, analysis is the least interesting part of the process unless you're a data geek, right? And you have to be able to absorb a lot of the data. I try to take some of the load off of that because a lot of people don't want to do the analysis. But the better you get at analysis, the easier it is. It's still mind-blowing to me, the concept of buying a property you're never going to see. But I do it for my clients all the time. You're doing it for your clients, and you're living proof that you can build wealth and do properties as an investment vehicle without physically being in that same location. I think that's so powerful. Let's move on to the next F. Let's talk funding. How do you generally pay for your deals? What funding sources do you use? What's your preference in funding deals as you build your portfolio?
Yeah, man. OPM is the way to go.
Amen.
It always has been, always will be. because you create deals that have a multiple win. You have a win for the investor that's eventually going to buy, or the homeowner is going to live in that property. You create a spread, certainly, so that you can be profitable in a transaction, but you also are able to pay good returns to the clients that are going to deploy their capital into deals. We first started out, I mean, I went to church members, my next door neighbor, my insurance agent, all these individuals that had capital to deploy and were looking to make good returns, but didn't want to be the operator.
That's right.
Deal. And then you find out, especially as with us within the VIP Plus community, that's virtual investing pros, VIPs. Inside the InvestorComps community, we have folks that are in Gary, Indiana. We have folks in Maryland. We have folks in Sarasota. We have folks in Texas. We have folks in Alaska, for goodness sake. And they're all operating deals in their market. They're using the principles that we talk about, taking that valuation first approach. And so we expanded our audience. So we have folks that are in the community that are practice professionals that have capital deploy in self-directed IRAs, Roth accounts, family limited trust. They want to earn good returns, and we're all speaking the same language. So they're able to actually deploy capital virtually and make good returns while the operator engages inside the community as well. So they've got the capital needs. So I've taught and duplicated what I've been able to do in the early 2000s and beyond with all those in the community, but we're all speaking the same language. But what's even better is how we've been able to expand that internationally as well. One of the people, Roberto Mazzoni, back in Tampa, Florida, I went down there to speak. We met in early 2009. He was formerly from Milano, Italy, now living in Clearwater. I just so happened to be taking my wife, segueing just a moment, I was taking my wife and son. We're going on an international transatlantic cruise. Just basically even in 2009, you could do your business from anywhere. So we sailed 24 days on a transatlantic cruise, got over to Italy. Roberto met us over there, took us to Monte Carlo. We met with a group of Italian investors there. And then we wound up deploying capital from Italy right in Southwest Florida, doing deals, and for good success. They made good returns. Again, people wound up with good homes, and we were able to be successful in the middle as well. So as long as you have that triple win, deploying and demonstrating and raising capital is not a challenge at all, especially, again, utilizing and taking a valuation first approach. That's the key. That's the part that really makes the numbers work.
I love that you keep saying that, because I got to tell you, a lot of people come to me for coaching. They're like, I got an uncle or a grandfather that's willing to invest in it. But if you can't explain to your potential investors how you're valuing the property, it's way too risky to hand you $30, $40, $50, $100,000 to do a deal. On the flip side of that, if you've taken the time to do the analysis, your numbers pretty solidly. Now it's almost no risk, right? It provides a great return to the potential investor, and literally everybody wins in that relationship. So I think that's an incredible opportunity for people who really understand how to bring in capital. Let's move forward. You buy a property in now Puerto Rico. Okay. You've done your analysis. Your exit strategy. You're ready to go. You got to fix the property, right? We're generally not buying these properties ready to go. Could you tell people, how do you manage the fix on a property from a distance if you're never going to be physically at the property to do the work?
Yeah, that's where relationships and vetting comes in. It's so very, very important. One of the things I was very fortunate when I first went down, I mentioned Enrique Morales was the agent. And so I spent a couple of days just with him, going around looking at properties. He introduced me to a lobbyist attorney that worked with the government there, so that I have an inroads, because I wasn't completely familiar with the legislature and how things work in the territory of Puerto Rico. Introduced me to a really good abogado, a closing attorney that actually was already registered with HUD. So as we closed properties, I was already working with the agent that could do that.
Awesome.
In addition to that, we looked at some other assets. One of the things I really value about the type of asset in Puerto Rico is all masonry construction. Nothing wood frame. It's all concrete walls, concrete roof, the whole works. So that stuff is not going to blow down, which is one of those things always a concern. Okay, how do you manage storms and stuff in Puerto Rico? Well, you can't blow it down if it's concrete. So, and if it's got a concrete roof, it's not going to leak. So he introduced me to a gentleman that was actually a commercial grade contractor, Jesus Iturino. And he and I bonded. We talked about the process of how we do draw requests and the type of work we want to do. So we set up a specific template. This is the exterior color. This is the color we're going to paint the doors. These are the light fixtures. These are the bathroom fixtures. These are the countertops. These are the cabinets we're going to use, so on and so forth. And set up a draw request schedule. You have to submit invoice. You have to submit lien waiver, and you got to show a full video. And I tell them, I said, look, I'm going to be over here. You're going to be there. I know you want to get paid. You don't send a video, I can't help you. So we set the standards in how we would communicate and work together for and with each other on an ongoing basis, so both of us could be successful. So that's how it works. So we just set up, again, I have a property management and real estate development company, America's Discount Home Deals. And so literally every contractor we work with, they have to submit. First, they have to get started on their own dime. We're not going to fund the renovation. And that, sure, okay, just go in and do the demo. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of material, but let's get the property cleaned out, get a dumpster on site, send me the video, send me invoice for that work. And now you've got the seed capital you need to go. Labor didn't cost you anything just to do a demo. Okay? Right. But we talk about that. And so, again, full lien waiver, which already notarized, says that this much work, because I don't want you to come back and giving me a mechanics lien saying I didn't pay you. And then we keep good records that shows invoice, lien waiver, and then the payment. And we hold back 10% because in the event that, okay, we have to do transition, or he gets ill or something like that, and we have to bring someone else in, we want to have enough capital left over to finish the job in the event that they can't do so. When they do finish the job, then we've got a new client moving in, a renter moving in. Sure. We've got through all of the inspections, or a buyer, and there's nothing else left in due diligence. Then we release the final 10% to the contractor. So everything comes out nice and clean. And when you do things decent in order with a process so that everyone understands, it makes it easy to port that and do more business. Because the most important thing that a contractor is looking for is not so much the job that you have, that they can get a job. It's what's the next job and how does that progress down the road? Absolutely. As to just a one-off. So it's that relationship building, nurturing, and just making sure all lines of communication are clear, working remotely from a distance. Now, for the wholesaling part, there's no contractor involved. You're identifying a project, you're identifying a buyer, you make your spread in between and move on. And most times you might be selling to a rehabber in some cases. So they're going to take care of being their own GC and working on projects. So it works both ways. Sometimes wholesale, no big deal at all. You're just moving the deals. In the event that you're going from fix and flip or long-term hold, not only are you doing a renovation, but now you've got property management to bring a client in and then be able to sustain that client while they're in the property. And that's not that hard to do as well, as long as you have proper process, communication, paperwork, and in this case, also software in place to manage. Heck, people pay their rent on an app now. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. And you're primarily a buy and hold investor. The last of my F's is the flip stage, but it sounds like you keep more of your properties. Do you do any flipping at all, or you primarily just keep?
Man, there was a time from 2010 to 2017, all I did was flip.
Okay.
Maybe one or two holds, and that was it. It was a flip, happy, good time.
Yes. Yes.
You couldn't hold on to property. And then utilizing the tools as an appraiser, you could see how the market shift. Now, granted, the pandemic poured fuel on it again. You got a lot of people to get in that would, as long as they could, basically find a deal and tell somebody else to buy it, they could get it done. And as soon as that cycle changed, then they got hurt. They had houses that they bought too high, and now they're having to sell and take a loss, and actually impacting other investors with that activity as well. I've seen a lot of that, and have helped some investors basically mitigate some of that loss or even break even when, again, you can actually see where all those price points that you can actually sell for good success. But Warren Buffett said, hard times, hard assets. And when I could see that there was going to be a shift in the market, I really went to doing a long-term hold portfolio, bring in a client, get that thing done, and then go ahead and put some commercial capital in place, want a 30-year note or 15-year note. So those assets eventually become free and clear, becomes part of your long-term wealth building platform as well. So there's all kind of ways to do this real estate investing business. A lot of the deals we do are in some cases just turnkeys. We bring them in, we fix them up, and then we'll place them with an investor for their wealth building portfolio, and then we still make a little spread on the property management. So it's any number of ways to do this for good success. But while you have the opportunity to deploy capital, in particular in self-directed IRAs and Roth, stuff like that, I encourage folks to do that. Avoid the trap of lazy money. Building wealth through data-driven real estate investment. That's exactly the space you want to be in.
I love that. And it's so great that you've really conquered that market. It sounds like you're well on your way. Mark, one of the things that I like to bring up, and I guess calling attention to the elephant in the room, is the number of minorities who are in real estate investing, right? And obviously you and I make up a very small percentage of the people who even know this is a possibility. How do you overcome people's limiting belief on that? Are you still facing a lot of clients in the minority space who don't believe they can do real estate investing, or it's still a mental barrier? And how do you overcome that?
It's really just a lesson. It's always the focus that you don't wait to buy real estate and wait.
Amen.
So it takes a lot of the pressure off. It's not so much of the, okay, I got to hurry up and get it fit and go sell something else. Yeah, I mean, there's wholesaling is good. You want to make those quick transactions so that you can build some capital to actually deploy yourself. But overwhelmingly, it's just really providing education, certainly possibility and hope for those that otherwise really wouldn't see it for themselves. Is every opportunity I have to do that, whether it's in what's the thing called open houses, where you're doing teaching and training for first-time home buyers. We do work with a company out of Chicago that is nothing but education for those individuals that are working to redevelop their credit so they can eventually be buyers. We work with a big pool of buyers in the minority and or Hispanic community that are doing lease options. So they're putting down a little bit of capital they've saved up, in about 24 months, turn around, and then they're able to be homeowners by having some nest egg on the side and building their credit for down payment and actually get true bank financing. So it does take communicating, sharing that, even that simple phrasing, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. It takes the pressure off of folks to know that, yes, this is something they can actually do for themselves and don't always have to be renters.
Yeah, I love that. And so much of that message needs to get out there. I encounter that all the time in my coaching business. Obviously, you're also seeing it in your coaching business because you've worked around it. And just to kind of recap, we've determined how you found deals. Your analysis is spot on. The funding of other people's money was critical. Building your teams with relationships to get the property remodeled, and then finally flipping into whatever your exit strategy. In your case, you're more of a buy and hold investor. So clearly you're following a lot of the same 5 F's that I offer to my clients. A lot of people are going to want to talk to you after this show, Mark, and I'm probably going to want to become a part of your group as well. How do I tell them to get in touch with you? Head out to InvestorComps.com. Would that be a good place to get started?
I think the best place to go is just go to themarkjackson.com. themarkjackson.com. Great link there to communicate. We can actually schedule some time to chat and really just kind of see under the hood what we're doing. One other thing I want to share, just in terms of that buy and hold model. When you're utilizing and analyzing different market areas, so I actually looked at some deals in a small part of South Carolina, in Detroit, Michigan, and even in Georgia. Deals that I could find that were actually already performing. But here's the caveat: when you run the numbers the right way, especially if you don't need the cash flow right now, but your broader goal is your wealth building portfolio, so that when you do decide to walk away, you want to have assets that are spitting off $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. I structured some deals back in 2017, 2018 that literally offered the investor 10% fully amortizing. So they're not just doing interest only, they're getting back their principal and interest. And what are they going to do with that capital? They're going to turn around and redeploy it. It's not so much that they put out $60,000 and they got to wait for the $6,000 to come back, and all they're getting is interest.
They're getting a payment. They're getting the money back.
They're getting back principal and interest.
Yes.
And literally over the life of that note, 120 months, I'm able to, with the cash flow of the asset, pay the asset off with no money out of my pocket. The investor certainly wins, but what do I have now? A free and clear asset that will continue to produce cash flow for years and years and years to come, and even be part of a legacy portfolio as well when my time comes to transition on. So these are the real cool things that we get to talk about in the VIP Plus community for good success, not only for the active investors, but for the passive income investors as well. Don, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to care and share. This is an absolute joy.
Hey, back at you, Mark. Thanks for having me. We're going to wrap up here now, Mark. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to pop it up here once again. I want people to head out to themarkjackson.com. They can start engaging in the conversation with you, joining his VIP group, obviously join the Foreclosure Deals Coach group as well. Would you agree, Mark? You can't possibly get too much education about real estate investing.
No, man. You build that really solid foundation and then add different things to your tool belt.
Yes.
So you can actually shift and adjust even more as time goes by. But yeah, can never get too much education when it comes to real estate.
I totally agree. So jump on the Mark Jackson, take this opportunity. Mark, you had a freebie people could download, like a first chapter of a book or something.
Yes,
Can you talk about that, please?
Thank you so very much for bringing it out. We just launched 2 books, Virtual Investing Success Stories. And all the individuals that I've had, a group of individuals that I've had the opportunity to work with, share their stories. There's one volume that's a domestic, another one that's an international version. So we're giving away a free chapter of the international version. All you have to do is go to InvestorSuccessStories.com. Investor Success Stories. Grab your free chapter of it. Leave us a testimony, a review on Amazon, and I will gift you both books completely complimentary. Read one chapter, give us some feedback, and I will gladly share both books with you completely complimentary.
I love that. Please go out to InvestorSuccessStories.com. Get that free chapter. Get the free offer that Mark's offering here. Mark, you have been a wealth of knowledge. Just our short conversations have completely altered my investing career, and I've been at this a while. So I'm certain if people get the opportunity to interact with you, they're going to be mind blown at the amount of knowledge. I love the amount of commonalities that you and I share, and I'm hoping we continue this journey on the investing world together for a long time to come. With that, guys, listen, go out to Investor Success Stories. Check that out. Mark, any parting thoughts before we wrap up the show today?
No, I just think in this situation, everybody, your actions have to match your desired results. If you say you're going to do real estate, if you say you want to get out of debt, if you say you want to have lifestyle and freedom, it's what you do right now, those actions that you take that match those desires that you say you want to get to. So go ahead, take action. Let's go walk on this journey together. Donnie's got you in a good place, and all we're going to do is pour some more fire on top of that. So again, thanks so much for the opportunity to care and share, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for being on the show. With that, guys, listen, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you check that out. Head out to Investor Success Stories. It's right there on the screen. Get that free chapter from Mark and start your investment journey. If you're ready to get going, or if you're wondering if you're ready to get going, also download my free 5Fs checklist. It's all over the website, foreclosuredealscoach.com, and get started. Like Mark said, the right time to get into real estate investing is right now, but you got to take action. The time is now. The market is here, and the opportunity and education is everywhere. With that, this is Donny Coram, your foreclosure deals coach. Thank you guys so much for being part of this live broadcast and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.